good.
Like God with an extra O.
We are live on Twitch, though. So, the millions of fans.
Oh.
Both of them.
Both of them. I'll have to pull up the live stream on my phone. Because we don't have
So usually we have a TV where we can watch ourselves, and there's a chat, and people are talking to us and interacting.
Well, I kind of like the idea of a chat. I mean,
Yeah.
how are we going to see that? Is it on your phone?
I'll
He's
monitor
gonna
it.
pull
Yeah, somebody's got to have that on their phone.
Yep.
My cutter.
We're kind of learning on the fly. We didn't have any of this back in when we first started out here.
Been a long way.
We have. There we go.
Mike, it will be your job to monitor the chat.
I will when Order says something uncouth.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
This is just random people who tune in every week. And,
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it?
well, we don't need... Yeah, I guess it is.
We
the
don't
whole
do this
point.
for anybody. We
Yeah.
just do it for fun. And it's like, if you guys want to watch this, then have
They
at
need
it.
to get a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
We're not
why are you
doing
watching
shit
this?
on a Friday night?
This is... I worry about your life.
Although it is a couple hours earlier on the West Coast, so.
That's true.
I think that's where the Gill lives.
Which one?
One of our faithful
One of
followers.
the fans, his name is the Gill.
Oh, The Gill?
The
Wow, he's
Gill.
got his own article?
Yeah.
Wow,
That's also
pretty
his
good.
Instagram.
I want an article.
What was it, a butane torch?
Yeah.
I may have to borrow
Heavy
that.
duty.
It's so much better. I have one, but I ran out of butane, and I cannot be bothered.
Is it just us still?
What?
Is it just us still, or is it going on?
Oh, yeah, nobody's said anything yet. I can't see who's actually following, but I can
Oh.
see if people will contribute. So, yeah.
So, our guests tonight are... Mike, can you introduce the guests tonight, please?
Yeah, I mean, we have... I don't know to what degree you want to be introduced, but we have Jeff and Shawn.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah?
And we were
Hello.
just talking...
And
Our
Dr.
guest-
Shawn. We
Doc-
remember.
That's right, Dr. Shawn. Dr.
Not
Shawn.
to be confused with Shawn.
Right.
just
the doctor-
Also just as important.
The Doctor of
Only
Love.
4 letters.
4 letter
less-
Shawn and 5
less
letter
of a
Shawn.
Shawn.
There you go.
How does this thing pop open? Am I that?
You
Am I a special level of dumb?
You have to pop it open. Yeah,
I do? Okay. Ah, it goes that way. That's the way the hinge goes.
Mike, do you have any extra cigars?
I do. Would you like one?
Not one like that.
No, of course
here,
not.
Here, have one of mine.
Are you
Yeah, this is a nice, easy one. So you'll like that. It's an easy smoke.
You know, I'm like 50-50 on them. Really. You know, the only times I've ever tried cigars or here with Mike, and half the time I get sick.
No, you'll like this.
That's
This
a mild.
This is super mild. I love these. These are easy cigars. Here, you want me to cut it for you?
Yes, please.
What you smoking there?
Cheapest buck.
It looks like
It's a La Finca. So I have a affinity for Nicaraguan cigars because
Yeah.
that's where I started smoking them when I was in the Peace Corps in Nicaragua.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, I started stealing my grandfather's Tampa Nuggets, which were these little like nickel cigars, when I was 12 years old. So
Wow.
I've been at this a little while.
Was that in Alabama or was that here? Was that in Georgia?
South Carolina.
Okay, that's where you grew up. Very cool.
So these are, Shawn teases me about these because he calls them my Swisher Sweets, but they're back ruts. They got a little sugar in the, taste a little
I'm all
sweetness.
for it.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a little sugar in the wrapper, and the glue they use for the wrapper.
Yeah.
So it's got a sweet draw, but it's a nice, easy cigar. I can smoke a couple of these a night. No.
Yeah, this is like an hour and a half commitment because
Yeah.
it's box pressed, so it's got
Yeah.
a really tight draw to it. And it's Maduro, so it's a
It's a bit heavy.
It's a heavy,
Yeah.
heavy cigar. But it's good, it's smooth, and all you go all the way down to the nub there.
Good.
Mike's, yours is as big as your arm almost.
I know. That's why I do it, because I'm a size queen.
I was gonna say, when do we talk about muscle stuff, and why am I here?
I love talking to people that know about, just training and the history and, people that a lot of people maybe haven't heard of, or, if you have the interest of really being interested in the gym and training and bodybuilding and all that stuff, if you're really a fan, you'll probably know, the history of it. I've just always been so interested in it. Even before I even ever worked out one time in my life watching World's Strongest Man on TV. And because I didn't have any males in my life at all. And I never thought I would be over 200 pounds. And, just that was, the only exposure I really had to it.
Mm.
So how long did it take you to break that 200-pound mark?
The 200 pounds went.
It was like.
Well, it depends on how old you were.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah. Wow.
I got up to 180 my senior year of high school. When I started working out, I was 140. I gained 20 pounds a year in high school, being a bodybuilder, and working on every chance I got once I started. And then I was 180, and then I tore my ACL on September 21st, 2012. And then I started bodybuilding, and I dropped out of high school, and I still went to college on time. Got my GED. And so for about 8 months, all I did was be a bodybuilder, basically. And I went from 180 to 230 in 6 months. Because that,
50 pounds in 6 months is...
Naturally. That was before
I was going to say.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah. I didn't start taking anything until I was about 235.
I'm just curious, how big are you now?
I'm about 265, 270.
Good
and I was about
5'10", 5'11"?
5. Well, it depends. I've been measured 6 feet tall, but without shoes, I'm probably 5'11".
I was gonna say, it depends on whether he's wearing heels or not.
My dad is like 6'4", 180 pounds. And he was always very cut up. And it had an impression on me. One time he flexed and he looked very muscular to me. Now he 180 pounds. What is that?
That's when I graduated high school. I was 6'4", 180, and I was not exactly lean.
I was 5'11", 180.
Yeah. So and then it's been, like I said, it's 30 years. I've been working out about 35 years. So 56 now. Yeah, so it's been 100 pounds later.
Wow. When did you break, what were your weight milestones? Like, when did you break 200 pounds?
Finally, when I was in Germany, I remember. So after I graduated college. So I remember weighing myself and doing the conversion because it was kilograms. And oh man, I made it to 200 finally.
And how old were you?
That was about 5 years. So I was probably 24, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you doing from the end of high school till you were 24? Were you training super seriously and doing all you needed to do that now to gain size? Were you eating?
Stupid stuff. I mean, I knew it was important to eat.
Yeah.
But I would train arms 3 times a week.
That's what I did after my shoulder surgery.
Legs would maybe get hit once or twice every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, I was the same way.
So, no, I was not. Wasn't doing it right. But we were just doing a lot of reps, a lot of weight, and stay in the gym for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
No cardio. It was just
if you're training very fast like you should when you're bodybuilding, and you're eating properly, you shouldn't really need to do cardio unless you really want to. I believe that.
Well, it really cuts it. It cuts into your your poundages as far as when I've added cardio in. So that's why I try to just decrease the rest pause in between sets. Just do a lot of just high volume.
You're doing a bunch of supersets, only taking 45 seconds in between sets, and you can do cardio, like when we do squats and dynamic bench, we do dynamic squats and dynamic benches every week. And we do, on bench, 9 sets of triples with 1 minute rest in between, with bands, some accommodating resistance. And then on squat, we do the same thing. It's 10 sets of doubles and 1 minute rest in between. And that really gets your stamina up. And, that's what Gary hates the most.
Right. Who's got the most number of times that they puked after a squat workout?
I've only puked one time after training when I was in high school. My dumbass, before we did conditioning in the summer, we'd have workouts and stuff. I was like, I'll drink a protein shake for breakfast. Well, after we trained and we were outside running in Georgia when it's noon, it's like 96 degrees. I threw up everywhere. And that's the only time I've ever gotten sick.
Probably 3 times.
Yeah.
It's always,
Well, how old were you then? Were you the same age as him then?
It was always squat day. I was probably in medical school or something. I mean, it's just it's just like unbridled energy and testosterone. And
right.
I love that. I used to train legs like that. I haven't been able to, it seems like, since I was a teenager. I had such a short window where I could just be, or just do whatever technique I wanted, but just be so strong, and your body will break if you do that unfortunately. And it's fun to do, but it's not the right way to lift. And I never really trained that bad, to be honest with you. I had a pre-existing shoulder condition. That's the only problem I've ever really had. It seems like I've been hurt the entire time since I was 17, since I was 180.
That's impressive.
I've been handcuffed. But it's amazing how muscle comes back. Have you ever taken a long time off and then lost weight or size, and then you gained it back relatively? I mean, how was that for you?
Well, so I had a hip replacement done back in March last year, and I was telling these guys that like a week after I was looking in the mirror, because I'd been working out, and my hip was hurting me beforehand. But
why did you have the replacement? What was going on?
It was osteoarthritis. Basically, the
same thing in the shoulders.
The ball of my femur looked like one of those crayons that have been kind of worn down too much on one side.
Yeah.
And so that's got it. So they went in there, and it's
is that genetic?
A little bit it is, but I never really messed up. I had a major injury. It's just kind of just long-term wear and tear.
Yeah.
And so, but I think there's a predisposition for osteoarthritis in my family anyway. But so I had that, and like a week after the surgery, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, what the hell happened to my left glute? It's gone.
It's crazy.
There's
how
no
muscle atrophy
like
that
after
it was
surgery.
gone.
It was just like.
You wake up and you're like, when I had my ACL surgery, I woke up and I was like, my fucking quad disappeared. And it took months to it come back to life. It's amazing how your body does that shit.
Yeah. Once you remove the stimuli from it, yeah.
But it's been less than a year since your surgery.
Yeah, it'll be a year and the 8th of March.
Yeah.
And how's your hip now?
It's great. I wish I hadn't waited, and that's what
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot.
Why the hell did I wait? Because the fear of stuff, and it's like, it's going to change routine. It's the challenge of the physical therapy. But listen, if you're working out regularly, physical therapy is your workout.
Exactly.
It's just that there's no. That was a wonderful thing about it, because it happened right before the lockdown as far as COVID.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go to the gym. I was just going to physical therapy 3 times a week.
Well, the gym closed anyway, so it turned out to be...
That's perfect.
Because that was his biggest worry. He was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym for a while. But we got in, he got a surgery in
lucky.
2 days. 2 days before they stopped doing elective surgeries. And,
oh, wow.
We were you were like the last person in the hospital. The whole floor, you were the only person there.
My dad's longtime girlfriend had her knee replacement. She was walking the next day. Okay, it was crazy.
Yeah, well, they make them walk right away.
I know hip surgery is a little more. It's a bigger than knee surgery, but it's amazing how good they can do that procedure these days. Am I correct? Because that's kind of what I feel.
Well, and with the the hip joint, you got there's probably more degrees of freedom to it, but it sits so deep in the socket that you don't have that much give. So it's the likelihood of dislocation and stuff is much less with a hip than it is with. You can still pop it out of joint if you
I have
do
a
the right
torn
thing.
left hip labrum. And
Yeah.
it's
tough.
So you're going to have some arthritis 10, 20 years down the
life
road.
it just acts a little weird sometimes, but I have persevered because I am not getting that shit fixed. Okay, labral surgery on the hip. I've heard you might as well just get a hip replacement because labral surgery doesn't even work ever. I never hear that it works. People have their labrums repaired. They always re-tear them if they can because they don't train the way they're trained. They don't change the way they're training.
Yeah.
They re-tear them every time. Meatheads, that is. I was a kid when I tore mine, but I don't even have a left labrum anymore. It disintegrated. They said.
Bone.
That's a good question. So, have you changed? How has your training changed since you had the surgery?
Much more volume and and really focusing on mobility and symmetry as far as movement. And because if you do barbell or Smith machine, those are great, but you don't really engage your core. Number one, you don't really achieve a symmetry of balance because one side is invariably going to be stronger than the other. That's just the way our bodies are. One's going to be more dominant.
I experience what you're saying a lot, but I think it can be done using a barbell and a Smith machine. Using the correct technique and starting at a very light weight, because especially if you want to be a power lifter, they don't care if you have been hurt or not. It's you have to lift this weight or you don't.
Right.
And so a bodybuilder, they don't have to do that. But I know a lot of people. The guy who has the biggest squat I think ever, Vlad. He trained at Westside Barbell. He did it with a hip replacement.
That's impressive.
Okay, so
That's
Don't
really
get any
impressive.
ideas.
Well, I've been doing a little bit more squat stuff, but not deep. I'm not doing deep squats. I'm not doing deep deadlifts.
We're not going through that again.
No. Well, it's probably going to happen on the right side eventually.
how are your shoulders?
Do not even ask. Go ahead. Try to flex.
That's as far
come on,
as they go.
Come on. Try to flex. I
That's-
try to get him to show guns, but
That's as far
he
as
can't
they go.
even show guns. That's it.
Can you
That's
flex how's your bicep connection?
Oh, that's fine.
That's good.
That's fine,
Okay.
but I don't have any range.
You have no
of motion
external.
out
My left supraspinatus is torn,
there.
full tear. So this is all the left external rotation I have.
There you go. That's pretty
Well, that's way better than
But that's
you.
his right.
Works. That's
No, my
The other
left arm
side.
doesn't go up at all. I can't
So
hold
the
it.
right side. The right side's fine.
No, I don't blame on powerlifting or lifting in general because, this really happened playing football. I had a catastrophic shoulder injury. I heard a lot of shit, and I think that it was torn from the beginning. And I just worked around it.
How's our chat doing? What's the first question? Why aren't you wearing masks?
No,
Not
order.
here.
Oh shit! I forgot about that.
Order said something. I don't know. It's just a bunch of asterisks, and then you're definitely over 200 when you're talking about. I never thought I'd get to 200. And he said,
Yeah.
"You're definitely over 200."
I did get to
well, yeah,
200.
that's pretty obvious.
My uncle was a big guy. He's like 6'2", 250, and he was the only male figure in my life at all, except for my dad very occasionally. But he was I looked at him as a very, very large man. Like I wasn't probably going to be as big as him. But who Mariusz Pudzianowski is? He's the 4-time world's strongest man from Poland.
Oh yeah.
He looked like a bodybuilder, but was the world's strongest man, and wasn't like 6'8". He's 6'1". Like I thought that was attainable. So, to this day, that he's really what I aspire to be.
Yeah,
Janowski.
Yeah, and he's an MMA fighter now. So he's a real.
he's really,
badass.
really in shape. Yeah,
He's,
and he
Wow.
even
How
at
did you trim down a good bit for the MMA stuff?
Yeah, and he had to come off, of course, a lot of the drugs.
Yeah.
Because they started testing him, but he's still beating the shit out of people. So he's legit. I mean, this is.
Well, he's a big guy
And he-
because most of those MMA fighters, they're fast and they're smaller. But
I think he fights in his weight class.
yeah.
But I don't know how the talent is in Poland. And he is truly another level of human being. Kind of like I'm a huge fan.
He was
of
very athletic.
Kazmaier.
Oh yeah.
And I've watched probably every interview he's ever done, And I watched one last night when I was working, and the intensity that he did everything at. Intensity really makes a big difference. It really does.
He's impressive.
When I have not been intense, my progression is almost halted. If you're not putting the energy into it, you really can't half-ass to accomplish, putting on size and muscle after a certain level. Especially to train as long as you have, that's so impressive. Because most people, they quit, or they have all these excuses, or, they just, I don't know, they just...
Well, once you slow down or stop, worse,
Yeah.
your body just, it adapts. So, and the population I treat, I'm a geriatric psychiatrist, so
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I see I see the correlation, because I see these guys who stay active into their 70s and even 80s, and they just hold up so much better than the ones that just kind of gave it up, at 45 and in a life crisis and took to the couch. And
I see that now, and I tell, Mike's probably heard me tell multiple people this, and I tell a lot of people this. My grandma is 80 years old, and she was always a pretty muscular woman. She was a trainer in the 60s. I mean, her calves were huge. She beat me in arm wrestling until I was 16. And now she has cancer, and she can barely walk. She's like 90 pounds. She was like 140. And, what happens is when you're a woman and you get older, especially women, but also men, your muscles naturally atrophy. You don't hold the same muscle mass. If you're not training, you have to train to slow it down. If you lose the muscle, that's what holds your body up.
Yeah.
That's what allows you to move.
And it also maintains your bone density,
right?
Too. Because if you're not doing that, then you're going to just lose your bones, are just getting demineralized the whole time.
And that's why people fall and break their hip.
Yeah.
Because they don't usually fall and break their hip. They break their hip and then they fall.
That's right.
And it's usually the the neck of the femur. So if you're not active and maintaining that bone density, the calcification there, then
the worst thing I ever did was stop training when my shoulder. I was probably the strongest I ever was in February 2019, and I decided to max out on incline barbell bench for no reason, and my shoulder was already really compromised.
Yeah.
And I felt fine until the next day, and my shoulder was locked up for literally almost a year. Like I couldn't use my left arm at all. It was the worst shit ever. You can't sleep. When you have a shoulder injury, if you breathe too hard, it hurts your shoulder.
Oh, you can tell every single weather change, like
right.
That's just
before it even shows on the.
Oh, it's gonna rain. I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
My shoulders are acting up.
Yeah.
My hips.
It's like, that's for real.
That's super. No, he trained John Oswald too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because John and I both did a meet in December of 2019.
Yeah, John's nice and thick. He looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was fun to. He was a good. He was very coachable. And do you remember what he benched?
I don't. Because he did push pull.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was over 3.
Started really at the bottom as far as technique goes. For powerlifting.
Because he was,
to my standards,
he was like me. Like, we had been in the gym, just kind of like self-taught, kind of dicking around, doing what we knew how to do.
Right.
And then I'm like, I want to do powerlifting, but I have no fucking idea about technique. And so he helped us with our technique, and he went up real fast.
Mike found me on an Instagram ad. When I started taking coaching clients officially, I did an Instagram ad, and Mike responded to it because I was offering a free month. Because I was like, well, I'm new to this, so I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
Because I had a huge fear of being a fraud, really. Because with a job like coaching, there's really no requirements other. If you call yourself a coach, anybody can do that. But the bad ones weed themselves out.
Right. And you have a healthy amount of
completely
imposter syndrome
incompetent,
too.
like, it will be clear.
I think that's a thing
the
with
good
even the
part.
most capable people, don't you think?
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. So, I mean, I think. But
I don't think that's powerlifting centric. I think
Oh no,
that's
it's
a thing for
anything.
everybody. Yeah.
Academia,
Yeah.
I found
It's just
that all the
but
time.
it's
Yeah.
what I care about the most, so that's why.
Yeah, well,
it's up
totally.
there.
But I mean, it's just everybody has their concept of what they're good at and having the confidence to
Right.
Men
to
like
prove-
to be good at something.
Yeah, well, they do.
I think everybody does, but yeah.
That's really what
They do.
drives me in a big way as well. I always felt growing up that I was never very good at anything. I would go out for sports teams and be the only kid not to make the sports team.
So, did you play sports at all then?
I did.
What did you play?
I played football since 7th grade.
Okay.
I was pretty bad at it until I started working out, and it helped me tremendously. I wrestled. I was not very good, but I was more naturally talented than I thought I was.
Yeah,
I was a late bloomer.
Yeah, so I was the same way, but I had 3 brothers who were all state wrestlers. I mean,
Oh, wow.
literally, all 3 brothers. I have an older brother, 2 younger brothers.
In the
and
Midwest, too.
They were in
And
Wisconsin.
that's, yeah.
And they
wrestle
they were good wrestlers.
Yeah.
And the coach was always like, Jeff, your turn. You're up next. You got to be a good wrestler. And I was a good wrestler. Actually, I had friends recently. I've done wrestling in San Francisco, where we had a little wrestling meet, and the guy who was coach was like, "You're pretty good."
That's
I never really
you want to
wanted
talk
to
about
do this.
intensity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Wrestling is almost the peak of intensity.
So I loved it. I mean, especially the whole concept of it's so physical, and the fact that you can pull somebody's body and shove them over, get them on
It
that.
is physical.
You really gets into your head. And
Where
I
else
loved
can
I loved
you
it,
do
so,
that? And almost nowhere else.
Exactly, because the rest of it is it's usually yourself against. There's no touching. It's all showing that you can do something better than someone else.
Right.
Whether it be running or you think about any track and field event in that way. But boy, wrestling was.
It was intense.
Yeah, it was intense.
I didn't do it in high school. I did it in 6th grade with the rec department, and I was older than all the other kids for some reason, so I kind of was really good at practice against these just really these unathletic kids. And at that point, I guess I was starting to get a little athletic. But when I would face real competitors, I would get destroyed. I would have no idea what to do. It got worse though. The more I wrestled, the worse I got. Almost as far as my psyche had just been so messed up.
Well, when I did it, it's very fight or flight. Wrestling is.
I was very
it was,
defensive.
yeah.
I did Aikido for 2 years, which is a defensive martial art. That's what Steven Seagal is a master in. And it's the worst martial art to ever learn. Because you're going to get your ass beat.
Just gonna look for make
No,
sure
'cause
Steven
it-
Seagal's
so
not
that's the
hiding-
reason
hiding
he's
the
been
bushes.
beat down.
It kind of teaches you to take and deflect. And in wrestling, you can't deflect. You can't take and deflect really in wrestling. You have to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And I've learned that since then, thankfully. And, I wish I, had that when I was that age, but or in that particular sport. I had it maybe other places, but I was so uncomfortable doing it that I couldn't let that aggression out because I was so uncomfortable. Because I knew I thought I was much worse. I didn't feel ready.
I had my brothers to go up against. That was my problem.
That's helpful.
They were really good, and it was like, well, I got to be as good as my brothers. So, and I wasn't. And I've always been of the school is I'm either the best at something or I don't do it at all.
Absolutely.
So it's like I'm either going to, and when I know I'm not the best at something, let someone else be the best at it. I'll do something else that I'm the best at. So and that's really what it came down to sports in school. And actually, in junior high, I went out for baseball, and that's when my mom was a teacher in junior high, and I stole her keys. I went out for baseball, and I stole her keys, and we got an Apple II computer. And I would go. When we would go for baseball practice, I would sort of work my way into the outfield and just farther back in the outfield, and then until nobody noticed I wasn't there anymore, and then I'd go to the school and play on the computer the whole time.
Oh my God!
And then because I had her keys.
Where's Glover?
I'd go to play on the computer, and as soon as I knew practice was about over, I'd show back up out of the outfield. It was like, oh, it was a great game, great practice. But let's just say it was a good career choice for me.
Oh my God!
It wasn't good. It wasn't going to be.
I love that.
It wasn't going to be softball. It definitely was going to be computers for me. But but it was one of those things. I knew I sucked at it, so I was like, why try harder at something you suck at when you could try harder at something you're better at?
Yeah.
You can't be great at everything. Find something you're good at and fucking work the hell out of it.
Well,
Can we swear on this?
Did you not hear me talk? Yeah.
How did you get into powerlifting? What kind of inspired you to?
I stopped.
Well, an Instagram ad apparently.
No, kind of, yeah. Well, so I stopped playing rugby. I was playing rugby, and then I stopped playing that, and I was like, well, I need to do something with my time. And I lifted weights for a while, and insert typical body dysmorphia trope here, but there's part of that, but also like it was a challenge that I wanted to do for myself, because being kind of like you said, like a late bloomer, and I was always very small growing up, it was like, is there a possibility that I could be successful in a sport that, like, genetically, physiologically, whatever, I have no business being successful in, right? And so it's very, like, I've always had a chip on my shoulder about that sort of thing. I've always had very raging Napoleon's complex, and I'm very competitive, and so I'm like, is there a way
You're
that
actually
I can...
genetically perfect for powerlifting.
Well, little did I know, yeah, because...
He is, right.
So, so that was just kind of like happenstance, but... like, I was never a good bencher. I had a good lower body strength. I was always very athletic, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, even when I played rugby, I was always like, in any other sport, I was always like small, agile, fast, skill position type. Like, if I played football, I probably would have played like receiver, cornerback, safety, something like that. And that's not what I envisioned powerlifting to be. And so I was like, well, if I try this, let's just give it a shot. I already like lifting weights. Let's just kind of take it to the next level and see where we can go with it. Also, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I should probably get a coach. And then everything kind of went from there.
You're very athletic, 290 pounds, I think.
A year ago I was.
We're going to do box jumps and broad jumps tomorrow.
Yeah. I can, like, if you get like 2-3 sheets of paper,
that's
my vertical clearance.
So
measured in angstroms.
And you do realize he has a trainer. Shawn's had a trainer since I met him. So he's had a trainer forever. So
yeah, I've been through.
And everybody's like, why does he need a
trainers.
trainer? But
and I tell them, everyone's starting out. I said, if you make me do a burpee, you're fired.
How do you usually find a trainer, and what does it entail for you?
Well,
does he train you in person?
I have to use my current trainer is like the epitome of he is like quintessential trainer, because he knows MMA, he knows CrossFit, he knows resistance training, he knows powerlifting. I mean, and his form is just so precise. I mean, he's almost. If you're ever taking Pilates,
he's not a powerlifter himself, though, is he?
If you're ever taking Pilates, everything is all about the core, breathing, and just the precision.
And that's what powerlifting is about.
And so he just nails it. He's just like an amazing athlete. So I have to say, and he's the one that's helped me through this. The hip rehab has just really changed just the way my stance, my posture, everything has actually improved since that, and then largely because of Ali, has just it's been life changing.
Yeah, cool.
But this is like, since I've been in, but he's like your fourth trainer. I mean,
there were many.
I know, but you trainers love working out with you because
I've got a certain intensity, and I show up, and
and showing up is actually a lot to do with it.
And
because some of these other trainers, he's had a couple that are like they text in the morning that when he wakes up, it's like, I can't meet with you today.
Well, and I had one I called my Roomba.
He cancels on you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But one would just kind of follow me around the gym. I'm like, I'll just be doing it. He's like,
what kind of trainers are these?
We've seen those. We've seen this one. I'm not going to name any names because
LA Fitness trainers.
Mike has no idea the deal he's getting. Okay, because I promise you, no one is like me, and. He's grandfathered in on the old rate. not the free rate, but the first rate that I ever had when I was just starting out.
Right.
And so that's all, he's getting a hell of a deal.
So I was, I'm not going to name names, but there's a trainer in San Francisco I've seen so many times at it's used to be Gold's, but it's now SF Fitness.
Oh, yeah.
Or Fitness SF, I can't remember. But
Going to summer?
anyway, but he literally, he's beautiful muscle bear and a great trainer, but for some reason he doesn't pay any attention to the client. So when he's sitting at the gym, so this is him while the guy's like doing, let's say, upper chest or whatever. Anyway, so incline. He's doing the incline, and he's holding the thing. They're always, the gym trainer's always helping him. It's like, okay, 4. Wait, he's usually on his phone.
When I see,
all right, 5, 6.
When I see trainers on their phone,
we're on 12. 12. You're on 12. It's like.
I pointed out.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
I pointed out, don't I? When I see trainers on their phone, and do you remember the one guy at our previous gym? He was a trainer, and it was just.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. The fact that he. Would take people's money for this bullshit, and
but some people are willing to pay it. I mean, they're not really getting a good workout. They've got a nice physique by proxy.
For me, this was a gay boy thing in San Francisco. I mean, they're like they picked their trainer because they thought their trainer was hot.
Yeah.
But instead of a good trainer,
that's such a thing in the community.
It was.
It so is.
How about
people
picking a good trainer, not just because you think he's hot.
Yeah,
so,
and again, not to name names, but it's just like I see this all the time on Instagram and Tumblr and stuff like that, where these guys are like, I'm offering customized plans. It includes like you can hit me up whenever you want to, $100 once, and you're like, wait a minute, one time, like for 100, like that's not
6
that's
weeks
not
of
a
coaching for $20.
and it's all just like it's emblazoned with their image. Yeah, it's like if you want to look like me, this is what you can do, and it's like no, like no.
What does $20 for 6 weeks get you?
First of all, it's people who don't understand the value of that sort of thing. Second of all, it's access. That's it. It's
There's
access.
no way they have enough. That coach has enough time for all.
Because he's had that experience too.
For some people, they're more about selling themselves than they're about selling their skills. And if it's a symbiotic relationship between the trainer and who they're training, great. But I'm not necessarily saying that it's beneficial to the person who's paying for that person's skills.
Apparently, that happens a lot in New York as well. From one of our
I think there is a trainer and a client. It's a very close relationship, and. You do have to sell yourself on what because you have to prove it. That's selling.
And it does help that you look good yourself, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
the image helps.
That's important.
Yeah.
Image. I'm not saying image is not important. It is important.
Well,
but you should still understand that when you're training a client, it's about the client.
Yeah.
It's not about you, and not about you just working on your next client while you're working on your current client. It's like,
I love training people. I don't do it a lot. I only train Mike, really. Other than being a training partner, I'm coaching him the whole time. No one else gets that, and it's just the OCD in me. And I really do have OCD. I got diagnosed in 2020. I've always had some weird things about me. Some, not weird things. But I had just some little things that I did, and I never thought that was a thing, and no one ever pointed it out. And I started seeing a therapist, and she diagnosed me with OCD in less than 5 minutes, and I suspected it as well. And started to work on it. It's amazing, because I remember when I developed it is when I moved from the city to the country. And as a 7-year-old, it really affected me. I felt like a big outsider. and I became very self-conscious, and I developed OCD just out of nowhere.
But it sounds like you've used it to your advantage, though. I mean,
I
there's
have,
nothing wrong with that. I mean,
and it runs in my family. My mom has it. My
Yeah.
older sister has it, and they became drug addicts.
Well, but when it comes to any, especially like OCD, and there's a lot of issues that we have, but you can use it to your advantage and understand it and go, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm OCD with what I do with my work, but it's good. It's what I do for my job, and but I understand that there's a limit. It's like, okay, sometimes I need to stop. Center myself and realize it. But I mean, it's that I work with computers. You guys, guys do powerlifting and understanding that what your limits are, and as long as you're aware of what's going on and take advantage of that moment, and put a cap on it.
It's
instead of letting it
definitely
control your
beneficial
life.
in a lot of ways for powerlifting, but in some ways it can kind of the far away experience, you mentally get worn down.
Sure.
From disappointment or whatever, because you have a standard. And the OCD usually affects what you care about the most. So mine, when I was older, was thoughts would just be on repeat in my head. And I would get into a panic attack, just obsessed. Well, I'm obsessed, but like I couldn't. My body would have a physical response to to a thought that was in my head that wouldn't go away. So I would start sweating. And that was as bad as it would get. But mentally, it would affect me greatly. And
if only we had a psychiatrist here.
I was going to say, Shawn looked like he was about to weigh in
with the OCD thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I will admit, when I first met him, he had, when we first started dating, he was the TV psychiatrist in Birmingham. So when they'd want somebody to come on TV to talk about, like a midday show or whatever, they're like, oh, we have Dr.
And just
Dr.
to
Harvey
say,
on.
it had more to do with proximity than expertise, because I lived, my office was right
But
across.
one of the first shows that he did was on OCD.
So you're like Frasier meets Dr. Oz.
Yes. So I literally looked at it, was like, oh my God, I'm dating the TV doctor.
This is
exactly.
Oh my God.
Episodes was on OCD.
His show
a lot
that-
of people say OCD. I'm so OCD or this or that. It's an actual condition.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people
it's a spectrum.
over
Okay,
it.
it's just like
If I remember
autism.
right, you said whether it controls your life. This can be the big difference.
I mean, if
Does
it
it
starts
control your existence?
If it starts to dominate, your social functioning, your job, your relationships, and all that other stuff, then then that's the time that's like the threshold. We say, okay, you need to get some treatment for it. Or if it causes panic attacks, that's another thing.
It would definitely, my thoughts would dominate my life because of the effect they would have on me.
Well, and it runs in my family too. So
Like right now, I'm checking to see if our nest is on at home. We need to turn the nest off.
So,
we're heating the house and we're not
my
home.
my sister, God love her, she's awesome. She's like a high power, like nonprofit sector person now, and just a fundraiser for lots of big schools and other nonprofits. But she would have before she left the house, she had to make sure all at that time were incandescent bulbs were turned off because they might explode, catch the house on fire, and kill her dogs. So
I had a roommate like that too.
It's just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I really don't like cabinet doors to be left open. I mean, when I step in the kitchen.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you remember that episode, that scene in Sixth Sense where the mother leaves the room of the kitchen and she comes back in and all the cabinet doors are open.
Yeah.
That's what I feel every time I see a cabinet door open. Like, fuck. This is it.
And I live with someone that has OCD, like cleaning OCD really bad, and
that's a good kind of roommate to have.
It is, except
yes and no.
Set a limit. So, okay, you're okay. Time, go.
It is, but it's not. We don't get along. We don't speak. We live right next to each other. We no longer speak because when I had COVID, he turned on me basically.
Yeah.
because he asked me to close my vents and do all this crazy shit.
Got this plastic bag.
Exactly. I'm not
Just
doing
put this
it.
over your head.
And lo and behold, did he get COVID?
So, do we have any more questions from both our viewers?
No. But
She's in touch with Casey.
He told me he was.
This just some commentary, but nothing.
It's the first time he's lived away from home, or except college. So he's got us as roommates, and I am a pretty easy person to live with. Actually, I'll be honest. I might be a little messy, but for me, cleaning is like either I'm going to do it all the way or not at all. But I'm not a dirty person. But messy, I guess, can be used.
It's all perspective when it comes to that.
It's a spectrum. Like everything, it's a spectrum.
Like if there's a spoon in the sink, he freaks out and sends a group text.
No.
He wipes the
Wait,
counter.
Who's this slovenly pig?
There's him. There's a guy from Japan who is never there, who's the nicest guy ever. We had him on the podcast.
He's great. Hama, yeah.
And then Will, who owns the house, but he's never there. So it's always the three of us, and Hama's never there. So it's me and that guy because I work from home. And
that's a lot of spoons.
It's
and blenders.
If I put something to soak in the sink, I don't.
All right, just stop right there.
Right.
You don't put anything to soak in the
can mean a
sink.
lot of things.
All right, if it was sitting in your bedroom for 2 days and then you put it in the sink, you need to soak it. You just used it. You don't need to soak it.
No, it's only my protein shakes. It gets a residue on it.
Which, to be fair, those things do solidify.
We are not even going to talk about those protein shakes because sometimes he brings them home and that he uses his shakes for something other than protein, let's just say. I'm like...
Oh, the bottles?
Yes, he's on his way home, he's like, I had to pee. I was like, what? You peed in your protein
Air high
shake
five, I do that too.
And it was like, and I'm
sometimes you gotta go, and you don't want to go back and do
Okay, I'm sorry. When you have a CPAP, you'll understand. It's cold, the fan is on. I drink a casein shake every night before bed. It inevitably ends up on my bedside table. I consume a lot of liquid before bed. I have a CPAP on. It's nice and warm. I am not going to have the discipline every single time to go through that entire process.
We need to rewind.
I've always been a bit of a germaphobe.
Same here.
A messy
Fun fact. Urine is sterile. Fun fact.
That's what he says all the time.
Hey!
He's like, I'm urine sterile.
It is.
And yet I'm still holding the little thing up and I'm putting it in the sink. I'm like, oh my god.
Wait, but do you use the shaker bottles that he
That's
uses?
his shaker bottle that he uses.
So what's the problem?
I don't use it.
Exactly. Shaker bottle.
I don't use it. Of course, it gets washed and cleaned.
He doesn't use the pee in the bottle.
I tried to pee in a bottle one time when I was driving to Arkansas, and I could not fucking get it, and I peed all over my goddamn car. But I didn't want to stop because I was so close.
Yeah. So he didn't have that problem. But anyway.
It was like a little water bottle.
It's got to be a Snapple bottle or bigger.
No, it was a little water bottle.
Oh, see, that's too, yeah.
And I was, my seat was back.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
You're painting a very robust picture here. I get it, yeah. Can't say I've been there, but I understand.
Yeah, so I told him when he brings those home, I do not need to see him. Just put them in the sink, dump it out, rinse it so I don't see it.
Yeah.
So you understand why I have to soak something for 12 hours? My protein shakes.
Oh, sure, that's what it is. All the crust on
Well,
your
even after like an
shakes.
hour, it does do that.
It sure can.
I put a lot of shit in my protein shakes. Oreos and all kinds of
I do
shit.
his protein shakes for him in the morning. He's got his stuff. It's got to be fresh berries, a little yogurt in there.
Yeah, I use Greek yogurt, peanut butter, 3 Oreos, a cup of Fairlife milk, half a cup of egg whites, 2 scoops of protein, and some ice. And it's a good consistency. I can easily drink it down. It's not super thick. Because super thick is I hate it. Because when I started buying
the raw eggs, that's perfect. You just
I got sick
20,
though.
20 of those.
I always did raw eggs.
Just
I got
right
sick.
20?
No.
I was gonna say Jesus.
He doesn't.
I do a dozen
man.
actually.
Look,
done that
I
before.
did it. I tried it.
Yeah.
For I would drink probably 6 raw eggs before training. And then I got sick one time. I was like, I'm not doing that shit.
Well, you shouldn't do it
anymore.
before training.
I started
anyway.
drinking pasteurized egg whites after, because I will drink those.
Yeah.
You wake up in the
I still
middle of the
do.
night, drink some egg whites.
That's perfectly reasonable.
My God.
As one does.
Wait a minute. So is this?
Have you ever thought?
So is this a powerlifting thing?
Klondike bars,
he will-
pimento cheese. Egg
So
whites.
it says
That's
this
what I
one. In the
want.
middle of the night, he
I
will
just
get
don't
up.
buy other
He will get
stuff.
up in the middle of the night and just eat, have a whole meal at 2, 3 a.m. and just eat. And then the other night I woke up and I was like, I turn over and it's like he's not there. But where the fuck is he?
I do the same
It's
thing.
like 3 a.m.
It's pretty much
and I
every
see the
Thursday.
kitchen light on. I hear a little rustling around.
He turns on the kitchen cam.
Yeah, I had a little kitchen cam and see one of those bears going through the dumpster.
The lights, nice.
Yeah.
When I'm at home, I usually just don't keep a lot of stuff like that. I keep pretty clean food because I take a lot of edibles after I train because it's just a good way to live and it helps my appetite as well. And I've been on so many antibiotics the last year because of my skin that my appetite really sucks. And the edibles help it tremendously. We're talking about the legal CBD ones.
What? Isn't everything legal these days? I mean, we were in California.
No, we're not. We're not talking about those.
In California, the apothecarium is
They're
a
illegal
cross
in
between.
California, yeah.
It's literally a cross between an Apple store and a See's Candy store, is what it is. I mean, you walk in, everybody's got lab coats on, and here's all the buds. Here's
I
everything.
can't believe
everything's
that
sealed up.
it's been illegal this long.
It's still legal in Georgia.
Well,
It's illegal in
medicinal use only. I think.
Yeah, I think.
I
think you're right.
Certain oils for 12 conditions that are terminal, and then you can't get it in Georgia.
Well,
To go to
I'm just
another
curious.
state.
The new administration have been talking about making it illegal. Period. I mean,
Yeah.
they might as
It
well.
should be.
I mean, it should be.
It's time.
It's
At this point, but we're not getting it. This isn't a politics podcast.
It kind of
Until it is.
Until it is.
It's in everything.
And steroids should be legal too.
Well, it's like.
And they are in Oregon, right?
It's
I don't know.
I think part of the law in Oregon or in Portland,
Oregon.
they
The whole state.
legalized recreational drugs or decriminalized.
Yeah, but I don't know what's
Yes.
classified like
No,
that.
Yeah, it's a scheduled drug.
You're talking to somebody who has a DEA number, so he knows.
Which is usually Schedule 4. It's still registered with the database, and so it still falls under federal regulations, DEA regulations, rather than just state.
but not state. And is the
So it still requires usually a red prescription. Sometimes you can call it in, but the doctors are being tracked on how much they're dispensing.
so the federal government is on top of it. That's unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. You can go get the morning after pill. You can be on female birth control. You can be on male birth control now. But you can't take anabolic steroids to enhance your life. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
There are a lot of idiots, though, unfortunately, who have made it bad for a lot of people. And the pharmaceutical companies have such a hold on the government, on Congress, in my opinion, that they're going to make it as hard as they can. I wish steroids were legal. If you're going to do them, do them. Just do them correctly.
Well,
except in the situations where it gives you an unfair advantage.
Of course.
That's where I think doping and drug testing.
Yeah, but that's not a legal thing. That's a WADA. That's like a
what's the name of the world?
Anti-doping agency.
Yeah.
Agency.
That's it's not illegal to do it. It's just illegal to use them and participate in
I agree.
X federation
If you're gonna
of
do
whatever. Yeah.
explicitly drug tested competition, and you're on drugs, then that's unacceptable.
Right.
But a lot of things now are undrug tested. There's an undrug tested federation for almost probably every sport, I would imagine.
Well, so this brings up something that I've always wondered is there's this whole concept of natural and not natural that people talk about, and I've always been I've always questioned this. When people was like, he looks that big naturally, and he looks that big not naturally. I mean, I don't understand that concept because to me it's like when I first started working out with when I first started hitting the gym with my partner at the time. He was 10 years younger than me. We were doing exactly the same weights. We were doing everything the same, and he was getting huge. I mean, but he just had a lot of natural testosterone. He did, and that was when I first got my testosterone checked. And it was like, the doctor was like, "Your testosterone's not good." I was like, "Well, that explains a lot."
Yeah.
It was like
to your point, is that just it's like too bad, so sad? You don't deserve to be as successful as somebody else.
That's kind of what So that's when I started. My doctor prescribed me tea, and I've always been on tea. And it was like, well, there's puberty, and here's why this shit wasn't working, because you need testosterone for your body to do what it's gonna do if you want to get some muscle, and you want to, or you want you want results at the gym, or not even at the gym. You just want results in life. A lot of different ways.
But you have to be doing it correctly, though.
Well, that's just when it comes to any drugs. I mean, there's use and abuse. I mean, there's the big difference between the two. So, and you can use a lot of stuff. I mean, you could also abuse a lot of stuff.
Right.
So, and as far as I was concerned, I was really happy. My doctor, everything was, and once I started, I was like, well, this is what I've been missing.
But there are legitimate uses. I mean, for example, there's a lot of men go through andropause, which is the, male equivalent of menopause, and their testosterone in the 40s and 50s drops. And so, in order to maintain muscle mass, and a lot of people think it's, there's some mood component to it, that there, some maintenance testosterone therapy is, it's not, as long as you just monitor it closely.
Yeah.
Well, that was
it's a very legitimate.
My doctor's like, all right, you get tested every 3 months, and it's like, oh, this is normal. It's like, it's good. I was happy to be normal for once in my life, and I was seeing results, and I was very happy about that. But of course, this is all in the before times. That's what I call everything before COVID.
Pre-COVID,
before times. Everything in this last year has been just completely nuts and completely. Nothing's been normal, so you can't really say anything.
But we've all been tested, and we got antibodies.
Oh, you're talking about the COVID thing with us,
the group of us here. We're all
correct.
So,
we're all
but that's nobody else's business. I'm not concerned about when people are like, you get tired of the. Well, I know, but you get so tired of the
Mike got
PC
COVID,
police.
I got COVID.
But people, they see a picture of people online, they're like, no one's wearing masks. It's like, it's like.
Everything.
I see. This is, as I was telling you guys, this is the first we haven't been to a bar in years. So, the fact that we went out tonight, and that was awesome.
Applebee's was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Exactly.
They got good apps.
Stop that.
There are 3.
Both people watching are
it really is.
This now.
Whoops is basically a gay Applebee's. I never thought about it like that, but that's totally. Is that not true?
I've never been to Applebee's to go drinking, and I would really like to, Mike.
I'm not mad at it. Yeah, we should do that.
We went. We're going to teach you a little game.
We went after my powerlifting meet when I like tore or severely pulled my quad. Yeah. And I just said, "Fuck it, I'm out of here," because I couldn't finish the meet, right? Like I wasn't going to deadlift. You know what I mean? I wasn't, and I didn't do well enough to like.
His leaving.
We're going to teach Shawn a gay term called basic. Applebee's is basic.
They have the worst food. Dog shit food.
And I used to love Applebee's until you eat someplace that's really good. He's like, oh my god. That's sort of like, have you ever had SpaghettiOs as an adult and realized these are awful? Why did I like these?
I really like Chili's a lot.
Disgusting. Well, Chili's is a little bit step up from Applebee's.
Yeah, it is.
Not far.
But it is a little bit.
It's a little bit.
When all you got access to is Applebee's, it's better than tuna fish on stale bread.
Right. Well, I'll tell you. So I similar to that. I think probably the most satisfying meal I've ever had is I did a 50-mile hike when I was in the Boy Scouts through some part of the Sierras. And so it took us like 8 days and a lot of hiking. So we're eating camping food that we had to backpack with, right? So a lot of freeze-dried stuff, nothing all that good. And on the way back, we went to a Denny's. And I had like a triple bacon cheeseburger and like with fries and like a mince, like a grasshopper shake, profoundly satisfying. Like I don't think, and we all thought the same thing. And like I'm not gonna say the quality was fantastic, right? But like when it's all you have access to,
right.
yeah.
It's all about
or like or similarly, like I used to do this mental game with myself back when I was in the Peace Corps. I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't eating hardly anything. Mainly just rice and beans, or sometimes it's just like a tortilla with this weird salty cheese that they call cuajada. And like that was all that we had. Yeah. And so like very poverty-like situations. And I found I wasn't all that hungry a lot. And so I play this game in my mind where I'm like, think about like just your basic Taco Bell taco, right? Not all that good, right? Right? And I love Taco Bell. But like the basic Taco Bell taco is not super high quality, or even take it a step further, go with like one of those deep fried.
Even part of the equation.
The equation, right? Or like a Jack in the Box taco.
It's a meat-like substance. Oh my, Jack in the Box tacos, those are the best.
Yeah, but they're even more garbage though.
The drive-thru, I always ask, can I get an extra side of grease to dip this in?
Basically, yeah. So I don't know. Have you ever had those? So basically, they take a tortilla, right? They put everything
disgusting.
in it. They put like a Kraft single slice of cheese in it with like mystery beads,
it literally is a Kraft single.
like lettuce inside of it, and they drop the whole thing, including the lettuce, inside of a deep fryer, right? And you get 2 for $1. So they're not good, but they're fantastic when you're stoned. Fantastic, right? But like I would think about that, and I'm like, would I hammer like 10 of those? And if the answer was yes, I'm like, okay, I'm just like so sick of the bullshit food that I'm eating and the lack of it, and my body has just developed this coping mechanism that I don't want to be hungry anymore, versus like I'm actually just not hungry because I'm full. And so it's just a question of what you have access to and what's actually good, and that totally changes based on
but when it comes to some fast food, it's just like if you haven't had it for a long time, I let myself every now and those Jack in the Box tacos, I will have those. Even my cat will try to bury it. But, it's like even the cat will be like,
it's true. Well, when I go home, typically once a year, I go to Jack in the Box.
Are you kidding? But
and I get those. Yeah,
I haven't had a Jack in the Box taco for the longest time, but they're just the nastiest, most delicious things ever. So.
Do they not have Jack in the Box?
Oh, they did.
But
you
they do a national.
You know what I did
the
other day? I went to the Taco Bell drive-thru. This was a couple months ago, and I asked for a Mexican pizza, and the lady's like, "We haven't served us for a couple of months." I was like, "You don't do the Mexican pizzas anymore?"
Yeah,
they discontinued. Pizza. You know what I did? I just drove right through the drive-thru. I didn't order anything. And I went just for the fucking Mexican
now
pizza.
I want one, and I hate that you said that.
Burrito Supreme, that's where it's at. Oh god, I could eat like
fast food can be a very valuable tool if you're trying to put on size.
Sure can.
If you use it right,
well, then it's working.
A certain amount of time.
It's working.
I went years without eating fast food when I started bodybuilding, and when I didn't start eating it until I was about 250. And to get over 250, it was McDonald's every day.
Yeah.
You know, it was the only way I could do it. And then I would use it strategically as I needed it.
You know, and because, you know, your biggest fasting period is when you sleep. So if you add 2 meals during that fasting period, then you're going to gain some size, man. Definitely. That's what I've discovered with this COVID stuff. You just get up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., and then again probably around 6, and just eat a, you know.
How big do you think he's on? He won't let me measure him. Don't answer that question.
I'll be pretty accurate.
I bet you are. The baby gap shirt, you know.
Baby gap, yeah.
I don't wake up a lot, luckily. I sleep pretty good.
Yeah.
You said you have a CPAP? You don't
have a CPAP.
Oh, you will.
Oh, you will.
Oh, you will.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten up to 280.
You were like
fine.
CPAP central right here. I see CPAP.
Everything.
Wait,
gravity starts to work on everything, including your soft palate. Just pulls it right down and closes off your windpipe so gently.
My dad doesn't have.
Well, wait a minute. But do you sleep on your back or do you sleep on your side?
I sleep on my side.
I sleep on my side too. He sleeps on his back.
It's more positional.
Because his shoulders
sleep on your back.
hurt too much.
Yeah, I
he
can't
can
sleep on my
his
shoulders.
side.
I usually sleep on my stomach a lot.
See, same here. I sleep on my stomach.
And your arms don't fall asleep?
No.
See, that's how I can't do that.
My left one does a little bit if I work it hard that day,
Yeah.
and it wakes me up, and that's when I'll eat because my arm will fall asleep. But that's usually a sign that it's just I need to recover a little bit better. But I'm not at the point where it should fall asleep. You have a lot more experience and wear and tear on the body.
Yeah.
I imagine I have a lot of scar tissue. I mean, I have zero external. My goal is to be able to hold a squat bar again.
Yeah. Well, that's why they made the ones that you can just have
right, but they don't use those in competition.
No.
Unfortunately.
Get in there.
And I want to compete again, and I don't want to have surgery. Because
and seriously, shoulder surgery, you probably want to stay away from that unless because it will especially if you got to do shoulder replacement. Even the best ones, it's going to sideline your lifting career completely. That's why I haven't gotten. Because I'm just, and with physical therapy and stuff, you can
if you train correctly and balanced, that is physical therapy. You don't need to train your side delts and rear delts, with 50-pound dumbbells.
Why not?
Well, that's probably
That's a meathead question right there.
I bench 500 pounds and I
can do it.
Am I doing something wrong?
Activating your traps.
I haven't found the need to.
I'm just kidding. I don't use those kind of weights anymore. I remember doing dumbbell presses with dumbbells that were 110. That was the heaviest I got with 110.
I remember every week for probably 2 years on shoulder day on Thursdays, I'd warm up to the 100-pound dumbbells, and I would just clean them up, really quick.
Go through the sliding glass door.
I would clean them up, and I would just bust out like 15, 20 reps.
Yeah.
And my shoulders, when I could do that, I knew they were the most healthiest. Now I can't do one single rep, and I know that if I don't get that back, it's probably, that's a goal I work toward. Just improving in those exercises that are hard for me now.
But, genetically, were we, did we kind of go through the stages of evolution to be able to lift a Volkswagen bus above our head, or were we just supposed to be kind of hanging from vines and tree branches and stuff?
Well, I was designed to lift heavy weights. No, I wasn't really. My right shoulder's fine.
That's good. I mean, it's good that you still got that mobility and stuff, even the way it is.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with my right shoulder or my right hip. I have to pee really bad.
Go for it.
Do we have any questions?
Any traction?
Yeah, people were talking, but just comments. Just
Are they talking shit?
No. Someone knew who you guys were, though, or at least Jeff. Someone was like, "Oh, you guys have Jeff here."
It's amazing. We used to travel before times, and I went to this cute little bar in Lisbon. This was probably sometime in September. I went in there, and he knew 3 people in this tiny little bar in Lisbon, Portugal. I bet they all knew him from Facebook. So he's
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty big network.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy how that works. But also.
But you got a lot of followers on Instagram, don't you?
Not really.
Yeah.
Like 4,000, I think. No, not even. Maybe I do have 4,000.
Yeah,
it's around there. It's not that many. But you see people who have like 30-something thousand that I know, insane. And they're
a lot of them. They're in the entertainment industry, or that's their
not even
personal trainers. And stuff.
I have a buddy who's a fucking pharmacist in Arkansas, and he has like 30,000.
Wow.
And he's just,
he's a lot, or is he?
Not really. I mean, he's a very good-looking guy. B, he's hairy. like has a very masculine look to him. But even so, like when I think about it, I'm like, are there that many people? Like, how many of those are legit followers? I don't know, but it's a big number. And I think, like, I have tons and tons of followers who I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea who they are. They're from all around the world.
Yeah.
I don't know how they found me. Probably like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, or somehow the algorithm threw him out there and they're like, oh, he's passively attractive. Like, I'll follow him too. And so, like, there's that, and I'm thinking, like, when you're at the 30s, when you're in the tens of thousands, it's like, is the network that big? Like, clearly there's many millions of gay people out there, but like, is he in that many, the center of that many people's Venn diagram, right, of like what they're into and who they are and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Well, I think most of it is just passive. So you just, you see their stuff come up on their wall, or with the Instagram. I don't know. I'm not really on the social media stuff too much.
Yeah, this guy said some of them are bots. I'm sure some of them are bots, but like, is it that high of a percentage? You know what I mean? Like, if there were no bots, what would that number be? Would it be 10,000? Would it be 5,000? What would it be? So I don't know. I don't understand. I know you can buy followers. You can literally buy followers, like tens of thousands or whatever. But this guy doesn't seem like the type of person that does that. But you never know. People, a lot of their validation, a lot of their feelings of self-worth come from something as arbitrary as a number like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, people put a lot of value in certain statistics. I know somebody that weighs themselves 3 times a day and is like petrified of losing weight and so fixated on getting to certain weight goals. And it's like, it's just such a, if you think about it, boil it down, like that's a very arbitrary thing to ascribe self-worth to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and plus it's so formulaic, and our bodies are so different. I mean, you look at us. I mean, we're all very different genetically. And, everything. I mean, you can't apply one formula. There's so many thousands of formulas. I think that people need to understand. If one doesn't work, then you keep moving. But you got to continue.
Oh my God, he's bringing it out here.
What's he got?
Fucking cheesecake. That I insisted that we buy today. It's funny. There's some of these like, because I don't track my macros or anything, but I'm like aware of when I'm eating a lot of calories and not a lot of calories, and like I was like, I'm out of some of my high calorie foods. Well, because like before I go to bed, I have a casein shake, but I feel like I probably need something with some carbs before that, or just some more calories to.
I cannot sleep without some carbs before bedtime. I'm seriously.
It does definitely help.
I will wake up. Or won't go to sleep until I get a little carb fix. That's just
interesting.
That's just, I don't know, and that's been for a while.
I'm good for now. I'm not sure.
Blueberry one looks really.
It does.
Really.
Gonna have one of them.
Yes, yay Chesapeake. What kind? It's a variety cheesecake. Variety Chesapeake. I think that was an autocorrect. We may have food coming. I don't know. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, so I don't want to get too specific, but. When I went inside, I asked Gary, I was like, can you DoorDash something? Because that would be nice. So, because we started talking about fast food, and I was like, fuck, I'm hungry again.
Right?
I hate that we talked about that.
Eating bad all week.
I'm probably going to go inside for just a little bit, get a little chill.
Are you? Okay, I was going to ask how you were on that.
I can always put on my jacket, but then you can't see the guns. That's what this is about.
It's funny. He said his reminder never told us to rotate.
Yeah, well.
What the hell?
He's got ADD.
What the hell, Siri? Siri never told us to rotate.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I had it set.
I know. That's why I said Siri done fucked up.
Just for everybody that's watching, so OCD pairs really well with ADD, ADHD. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. We want attention.
I'm always taking up after that one.
Does that mean you're going to sit here?
I don't know.
Sit here.
What? Speak.
Use your words.
He's like telling you, don't you dare
switch
sit
here. We're supposed to switch. Switch. Let's do the switch. Oh, wait.
I'm talking
The shuffle. Actually,
are we out of Jack?
We are. We have.
I swear I saw you carry around an empty bottle. So.
Yeah, it was. We have some a little bit of rye left. We have a lot of vodka left. So we have that. Yeah, if you want, that is a very, very satisfactory heater. So if you want to sit right there,
Yeah.
we have to do the.
What's that?
Are you rejoining us?
Yes, I'm rejoining you. I totally forgot we're supposed to switch.
Great. So we're not going inside.
Well, I was go inside for
Let's
just
go.
a few minutes.
Well, we can go inside. I'm done with my cigar.
So we're rotating.
Rotate.
We can go inside, but you guys normally do
podcast
it down in the
Still
basement.
going.
We can move the computer.
We can.
Then we can't have our cigars out of here. See the mutual exclusivity of that?
Hi. Oh my god. Hi. Hi.
Gotta love these dogs.
Oh my god. There's such hams.
They are so.
They don't leave you alone either. Yet? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What is it? What is it, little Bubba? What's going on?
So what are you looking at there? What's going on the? Oh, that's just a live feed. But
This? Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. You're asking me. I thought you were asking the dog what he was staring at. No, this is just. This is the live feed. I have it pulled up. Usually we have so downstairs in the basement, the man cave. We do it, and then we have that big the TV. Yeah. We have it hooked up to an Apple TV,
gotcha.
and then using the Apple TV, we can stream. Yeah, it's delayed.
So you can see the chats on there too.
Yep, you can see the chats. You can see how you look. You can do all that stuff.
Any questions?
Not really. Just
nothing for Dr. Harvey.
Just a lot of questions, or just a lot of comments.
He'll be happy to ask or to answer.
Oh, I'm sure. I know. I want to make sure that that everybody has times that
somebody
found garbage.
Garbage.
To tell him Al said hi.
We know a lot of Al's.
You're gonna need to be more specific.
Does it show the actual name?
No, just a screen name.
The
screen name is here Roundhouse 84.
No.
Unless it's Alistair.
Oh, I do know Alistair.
Yeah, but I don't think that's his screen name.
Yeah, that's not his name.
Also, shouldn't he be, asleep or
or
chatting or hosting a happy hour?
He would he would be on the happy hour or in charge of it. At this
but it's what, like 7:30 in the morning in the New World?
I know. Hey Siri, what time is it in Amsterdam right now?
Al Tehran.
It's 7:22 a.m. So.
Al Tehran.
Oh, I do know Al Tehran.
Hello.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, he says hello.
Oh, good. I know him. So you normally do this downstairs?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we started doing it up here,
I figure out why it didn't remind me to rotate.
I was wondering that.
I'm going to check my reminders now. It says reminder right now, scheduled.
So it probably popped up, but it didn't give you. It didn't give you an auditory cue. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Well, I think I muted it.
Well, that'll do it too.
I have it on Do Not Disturb.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
Well, I didn't. Yeah. That explains a lot. Hi.
Oh, sweet
You have a giant mouth.
I know.
It's gonna eat me.
And a tail that goes a million miles an hour. He's so expressive, and he has a lot of personality. And awful breath. Just awful fish breath. Because I think the food we give him has like salmon in it or something. It's some bougie dog food that's salmon based.
You have the. I thought that was the magnet thing. I've got the magnet safe with mine. I love the magnet thing on it.
What's that?
So there's a magnet on the back of the thing here. So it snaps to everything.
Oh.
You got cheesecake all over you.
You are? I'm pretty charged.
You feel good.
Having your mustache.
Oh, are you clearing out your nasal passages? You strangely deformed.
He's like, I'm a pug.
Creature.
Thanks for breeding me this way.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do that. That was Jesus.
Years of breeding made me like.
You can blame Jesus for that. That he made you with spared parts.
Oh, we were gonna switch.
We were.
I'll sit there. You're sitting here. Sean's sitting there.
Okay. Yeah, Shawn was.
I'm gonna monitor.
Was getting cold, so I think it's best that he sits by the fan, the heater, which is also by the fan.
There goes your. All right. I monitor the chat. I got my glasses on.
Plenty of room.
There is.
There you go. Oh yeah, you can see everybody moving around. Oh, yeah, we'll get. Well, now not just your big arms there. Now we're gonna get Shawn's big arms there.
All the Shawns.
Justice.
All the
deserve.
Shawns. Yeah.
You said the Justice League?
All right, dogs. Come
This
on.
is so much better than sitting forward.
All right.
If I was even going to be on camera.
This way. Come on.
This
Come on.
thing is
they're
pretty
not
This
comfy,
way.
actually.
This way. It's
very
gonna be exciting. This way, puppies. Come on.
All right, bears. Little dog bears, come on.
Come on.
Want to go outside? Oh, do you guys have to go to the bathroom? They probably have to go to the bathroom. You want to go outside? Oh, you want to go outside?
You're ready here.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The old man's by the heater.
Come on. Come on. It's wet. I don't like it when it's wet.
So what do you do for a living? Something with software, you said?
Web developer.
Web developer.
I build websites.
You know, I'm actually thinking about. I need a website for my system that I'm designing right now.
What do you mean system you're designing? What are you doing?
Well, I can't give. Well, actually, I can give it all away.
Well, no, don't give anything
You
away.
know, I have certain training
your
philosophies.
your training system is what
Yes,
you're trying. Okay.
correct.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to know all your details. I was just
But
curious.
I've developed one that is kind of more remote, where I don't have to devote as much time to the client. Therefore, it would be much cheaper and much more accessible to everybody. But they are the fundamental ways to train properly, and specifically to powerlifting.
So your system is it's a powerlifting system is what you're talking about.
Well, it's power building,
Power
right?
building. Got it.
You know, so anybody that wants to be a power lifter has to be a bodybuilder if you want to be successful. And you know, if you have the desire to lift heavy and be a power lifter and you want to look like a bodybuilder, then you will want to be that. And there's a lot of people that want to be big and strong.
Yeah.
You know? And there's a correct way to do that. If you want to bench a lot, there are systems that are proven to work. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's just part of my philosophy.
So, have you ever thought about doing a system yourself, big guy? I mean, you.
System.
Yes, I'm just.
Yeah, my system is the body part I train is the one that doesn't hurt that day. That's my system.
I mean, but you've done this. You're 30 years older than the other Shawn, so you've done this a while. So you must have some kind of system.
Well, and I've always gravitated toward like just basically, you know, some people do like, you know, like a split routine of workout in the morning. I've always just been like, you know, an hour, maybe two, 5-6 days a week, and then I'll try to do like a 5-day cycle of training. One day I'll do quads, one day I'll do hams and glutes, and then shoulders and traps one day, and then I don't really train arms at all, which because I feel like I get an arm workout whenever I do chest or shoulders or back. So just 5 days and kind of divided in that, and then, you know, I usually take a day off after 3 days of training, and then continue the cycle, and so that's the way I've always done it for a long time.
That's basically the way we do it too, really.
Do you?
In a certain, you know,
Giving away
there
your
are some
secret
differences.
sauce.
There are some slight differences, but
Yes and no.
you know, I always trained. Monday was chest, Tuesday back, Wednesday quads, Thursday shoulders, Fridays arms, Saturday off, Sunday you're going for a hamstring workout.
Yeah, that's the auxiliary body parts, right? But not now. I mean, for you, but that's kind of what when I was training, a lot of people were neglecting the legs, and they just, you know.
Well, when I had my ACL surgery, they took a big chunk of my hamstring for the graft.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me that half my hamstring was going to be gone, and it's going to be weaker forever. Right. So I always really focused on working hamstrings a lot.
That's cool.
So, you know, and if you're going to be a power lifter, you have to have strong hamstrings, glutes, and you have to be able, the thing I wish I knew when I started lifting heavy was how to brace properly. It was never really taught to me correctly, and I learned the hard way.
Did you jack your back up or something?
I mean, I've blown my back out a few times. It was right after the way I tore my hip labrum is I would just go to the gym and just be repping 405, and I would just get so deep. And one time, I have the reason I have torn so many labrums is I have hypermobile joints. So like my knees.
Really?
Yeah, my knees hyperextend, my elbows hyperextend. My shoulders, I suspect, probably, have something about them that is more flexible than it should be.
Well, that sounds like it would be almost a detriment sometimes.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
But I've had to just be extra strict. So I know that now.
Yeah.
But the key is to brace. If you're not bracing the core correctly, you are going to get hurt if you try to lift heavy weight with force. And you have to have force to lift heavy weight. And if you're not braced, you will either get hurt or your body will just stop.
So that brings us to Al's question, which he was asking about flexibility. So, as a power lifter, flexibility is important.
Yeah.
So, what do you do in your workout plan to help with flexibility?
Oh, well, personally, I do.
And I'm not just asking, I'm going to hear everybody's answer.
Well, you were looking at me, so
I'm looking at you. You're starting. These guys are going to be grilled next.
His face.
But no, I do for the lower body especially. I'll do a lot of foam rolling, and then just a lot of stretching and using the bands and stuff, especially now, just to just kind of increase flexibility that way.
I will admit, this guy fucking loves his foam roller.
Yeah.
We travel with the foam roller everywhere we go. I've never seen anybody who does it. So.
But I don't anymore. I don't use it at all anymore. I don't need it.
So flexibility wise,
would you get like a deep tissue massage or something, or how do you?
I just
recover.
I recover. I just recover because
good.
I also, but it's because I am lifting with proper technique.
That's great.
And I'm not causing damage to my body. And I know a lot of, like I've squatted incorrectly and been too strong and blown up my back. When you get strong enough to be squatting 500 pounds, if you're doing it wrong, you can really hurt yourself. And I did. I hurt myself, and so now you've hurt yourself.
I did that last year
a few times now.
So what about you for flexibility?
mainly what he
do you consider yourself
we just
flexible?
do bodybuilding exercises with perfect technique and
because I don't consider all three of you anybody flexible.
Yeah, if you're doing that,
is there a flexible power lifter out there?
We make a little prediction.
Smaller.
Yeah, I think smaller too. I think it has to do with your size.
A little prediction because the way, to me, my understanding of how you build mass and strength is you have these little micro injuries to your muscle fibers.
Exactly.
That get that repair and stuff, and so it's stronger and bigger, prepared for the next re-injury. So over time, that does kind of cause some scar tissue and stuff like that. So anyway, one of the things I've found really helpful is getting the foam roller or getting like a really good deep tissue massage.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
At least once a month. Ideally once a week, but that's a lot.
To be able to use my shoulder at all again, I was getting massaged twice a week.
Yeah, it really helps.
It really does, and it's something I couldn't afford to do forever at the time, and now I would like to have it, but I don't live and die by it because it's not absolutely required to get any mobility back it was.
Right.
And I really should get back on it because it really did make a difference. It helps bring a circulation to those areas.
I think that's the biggest piece is movement of the joints and movement of those muscles and stimulating blood flow to them to be able to do that, because that's a big part of recovery is ensuring that you have proper perfusion to the injured muscle, whether it's an actual injury or whether it's a micro injury like you described it in proper training, which is why active recovery, on days off when you're not lifting something, it's good to be up and moving and not just sitting around and staying immobile, because That's, if you go and lift super heavy, and then what do you do afterwards? You just, lay down or you sit down.
I told him to go on walks when I started coaching him before I really knew him. Because I know now that to tell him to go on walks would be such a joke. I know you're asking what I'm going on.
I'm not going on a walk.
I'm going on a walk.
So, speaking of flexibility, glucosamine. What's your, Dr. Harvey, what's your thoughts on that? Because it's supposed to help with your joints.
Well, it helps with, because part of the substance of cartilage is glucosamine. So it's an essential ingredient for.
But it's a supplement. Is there science behind it?
Well, most of it's probably broken down to stomach acid and all that, and not a lot of it is. But the molecule itself is still largely kept intact.
Do you guys do glucosamine chronated?
Luckily, I was in the supplement industry. All my jobs have been in the supplement industry.
Oh, really? Okay.
Glucosamine, there is research behind it that shows that it may contribute to healthier joints.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like every supplement.
I find it to make no real difference, and I've taken it many times. Yeah. The only supplement for joints that I know makes a difference is hyaluronic acid, and it helps the joint fluid, especially when you're taking a lot of estrogen blockers, as men do, that take certain things. Their joints get dry and their joints start hurting, their elbows, their knees, their wrists, all sorts of stuff. And your joints get dry. Well, hyaluronic acid will help restore that. I took letrozole when I was bodybuilding, and I always did all my own research on everything for years, and since I was 15 years old. And the one time I listened to somebody, it was the wrong information, and it messed me up really bad. And I dried myself out so bad, my knees hurt so bad I couldn't squat for 3 months. Wow. My elbows were hurting, and the hyaluronic acid did help.
So you've been doing Pilates, which is... Well, you were doing Pilates.
The pre-time.
In the before time. In the before time with, what was her name? Brenda? Tiffany.
Tiffany sounds like a Pilates.
But that's got to help with That's got to help with flexibility. I mean, it's all about flexibility, isn't it?
Let me find one.
If there's one, if there was one
we can move to the basement if you guys want to. So.
One type of exercise.
What's that?
It's kind of a lot of effort.
We can rotate.
It's a lot of effort. He's like, screw the effort. But we'll rotate again in a second.
I can also just close the windows.
Yeah, that's true. We can close the window.
And then we can keep the heater on.
There you go.
Yeah, I know Shawn was doing Pilates.
I think Pilates is great. I really do.
But it just takes so much equipment.
Yeah.
You have to have.
It's very specialized. Yeah. But the concepts behind it, the core bracing and all that, the stability, it can be extremely valuable to any bodybuilder or powerlifter. Yeah. Any athlete, that is an extremely valuable skill.
Is there a relationship between Pilates and yoga?
Probably, in a way.
Yeah, my understanding of how Pilates came about was I can't remember if it was World War I or World War II, but a physiotherapist kind of was charged to come up with some type of rehab routine for the injured soldiers, and so they came up with a very rigid kind of system. So it's almost like combining ballet with yoga. So there's the strictness of the movement of dance or ballet, plus you're trying to increase mobility. You do and breathing and core like you do with yoga. So that's the melding of the two. My understanding could be.
Have you done either yoga
I've
or Pilates?
I've done yoga on my own. I've used when I had to take a few months off because of my shoulder for the first time. I was going to the gym. When I started, I took 2 months off completely, and then I started going back. And the first week, I would get to the gym, and I would get really anxious and just go home. And then I started going in, and I started just putting my headphones on and doing this yoga app. It was called Mobility Wad. Because I was so tight from just training heavy and not correctly.
Yeah.
And I just needed kind of a reset. It was pretty good for me. But you cannot you cannot do something like yoga correctly and seriously and still train with weights at the same time.
I think
they cannot coexist, because when you're doing yoga, when you're doing long stretch pauses, you're inflicting a lot of muscle damage, and that shit takes a lot to recover from.
That's a good point.
And it is not conducive with weight training. It also, you could make yourself too hypermobile, especially if you do it the same day, and you can get hurt that way. And there's just a lot of reasons why I don't think they can go together: long static stretching and lifting weights.
But I think Pilates might bridge that gap a little bit, because they're not really focused on like hyper flexibility. It's more again about breathing and core strength, which I think can really help your lifts.
Absolutely. That's the key to power.
Yeah.
When you learn how to do that, then it just you stop getting hurt and you go to the next level. Yeah. Unfortunately, for some people, it's not taught to them, or it's not naturally done. Like for me, for many years, I can remember, like in a span of 2 years, maybe 5 workouts, squat workouts that were really good, and it was because I somehow stumbled upon how to brace correctly.
Yeah.
But then I never did it again, Shit like that. It's ridiculous. If I'd had a coach, he would have, they would have identified it. Yeah. And that's why I think, having a training partner is something that's so important. Do you train with a lot of people?
No, well, initially when I was growing up and stuff, it would be 2 or 3 of us training, and that, to me, that's not ideal. So with a trainer now, I think just the most efficient way, again, trying to do kind of encompass a little cardio workout plus the resistance training, and just keeping the rest pause short.
They got their pashmina on.
A lot of Valium.
You have a drink under there, don't spill it.
A little Valium and a little volume.
Well, I know of people who take a little bit of
I'm all for taking edibles in training.
Before training.
When my acne was, my cystic acne was so bad, and if I had not been on Prozac and the cystic acne had happened, I don't know that I would have been able to survive.
Yeah.
Because when the Prozac kicked in, I remember it took about 4 days, and I was driving to work on the highway, and I just remember being so clear-headed. Like, my thoughts were not so aggressive and just mood-altering, so commandeering, and it really made a difference.
Is that SSRI?
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
So, and talking to a therapist is very useful for it as well.
That's good stuff.
Everybody should talk to a therapist, whether you think you've got a problem or not. Like, my mom should definitely talk to a therapist. Okay.
Every mom should talk to
Right.
a therapist. That's pretty.
Right.
I think that's the baseline.
And she's just now.
If your mom's not in therapy
at 51 years old, like,
sorry,
she needs
Mom.
to see one like now. You know what I'm saying?
Postpartum what?
Yeah.
6 kids.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is, when I met Shawn, we had a friend that introduced us, and I was single at the time. Recently single. He was recently single, and our friend was like, he was like, "Oh, you have to meet Shawn. He's staying with us this weekend in San Francisco. I was living in San Francisco in the Castro." And he said, "Oh, you have to meet Shawn, our friend." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Sure, I'd love to meet him." I was like, "What kind of work does he do?" And he's like, "You're going to have to ask him." So, it wasn't until later I was like, "So what kind of work do you do?" And he's like, "I'm a psychiatrist." Why? I'm like, "I just got rid of one," which I literally did.
Oh.
But the last guy I dated was also a psychiatrist before Shawn. I'm like, "Ooh, I definitely have a type." Crazy.
I've seen 2 psychiatrists. The first one was after me and my most long-term relationship, we broke up, and I went to a very dark place, and I started seeing a therapist because I knew that, I believe, just like the body, you can train the mind to adapt to things. And I have this exact same philosophy. It's just about reps and focus. So I was like, I need a therapist. We didn't connect very well, I feel like, and She, it was all about the relationship I was just in, because that's what had just happened.
Yeah.
That it made me realize I need to change my mind. I have ways about me that I don't like, and I can retrain myself.
Right.
And but at the time it was all about the relationship.
Yeah.
So she didn't even recognize I had OCD. She never said it. And then a couple years later, I started seeing one because I got health insurance for the first time since I was 18. And she also has OCD, and she also trains religiously. And she diagnosed me real quickly. And whether, I did a lot of things with like drinking as a kid. I would drink things weirdly.
Yeah.
I would wipe things excessively. Luckily, I kind of grew out of all that, I think. It just went to manifested differently in my head.
Mm.
And
that's what typically happens.
Which is, psychiatry is not as an exact science, whereas powerlifting, there's some exact science to it.
Well,
what your body's going
science either.
It's not exact, but there's a lot more proof to the pudding.
You're not going to go against science.
Yeah, you're not going to go
really
against science. Whereas psychiatry and anything to do with mental illness, I mean, it's like, or anything in that that idea of what's going on in your head is, you don't know. People need to communicate.
It's basically all about kind of statistics, what falls within the norm. Whether but the norm can be defined by cultural differences and and so and I think even genetic predispositions too. So you got there's a lot of it's not a hard science. It's not like saying well you've got appendicitis because you're running a fever, you got an elevated white count, and your appendix is inflamed, and you got abdominal guarding. There's. So it's not as exact as that. There's a lot of ways that you can solve a problem rather than just one solution.
So when you were in med school, and you decided to get into psychiatry, I mean, you basically went away from something that was very exact science, which a lot of med school is.
I have to admit, I was a little disheartened when I got to my third year of medical school because I went through internal medicine, surgery, pediatrics, OBGYN, and I think I did a couple other things. And psychiatry was the last rotation I came to, but all the rotations I did previously were, they just didn't satisfy me. So surgery was awesome because it was very physical and hands-on, but then you have to deal with surgeons. Internal medicine was wonderful, but to me it was just all about just treating lab values, so I didn't really feel that there was as much of a human element. And so when I went into psychiatry, and then particularly geriatric psychiatry, I could combine internal medicine aspects of problem solving plus the humanistic aspects of really getting to know this person and their life experience. And there's just nothing more rewarding than hearing stories of people in their 70s and 80s and all the wonderful things that they've experienced and their interpretation of those experiences, and how that just alters their perception and the perceptions of people around them. It's a wonderful. Just to hear those stories. It's just amazing.
I love talking to old people. I always enjoyed. I used to hang out with my younger. So I'm one of 6. All my siblings and I have different father but the same mother, and we were raised by our grandmother. And I would hang out with my 16-year-old. She's 17 now. My 17-year-old sister's grandfather, who was in World War II. He was in his 80s at the time. And I would just go hang out with this 80-something-year-old man as like a 12-year-old. And I enjoyed it so much, talking to him about stuff. And, they really, and his wife is still alive. And just talking about, World War II. I mean, come on. And just that time period. And they really were a different type of people in a lot of ways, I believe. But I've always, as the years went by, I was very sad when the last World War I veteran died, because I was like, I'll never get to talk to him. Because I really like to talk to people. And, I've always been, had a lot of social anxiety. When I was in college, it was really bad. I couldn't even go to class. When I missed a lot of school growing up. I usually would miss like 2 days a week, and because I just hated school. I just hated the people.
But the business that you're in now, I mean, you really challenged yourself to get to where you are because it's all you do is interact with people.
And I enjoy it a lot.
So
and
you found your strength.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I hate people. So I don't know.
It's almost,
Well,
and it plays into OCD perfectly because
Computers
it's all
don't talk
about
back.
control.
And you can undo.
Yeah, well, it's very comfort in a certain environment.
There are reasons that we're talking, I have a job, I have a mission, I have something to guide me. I've always been bad, say it like going up and initiating conversations. Because there's no reason to, if I don't have a reason to, I don't want to ever inconvenience anyone or do anything like that. But once I'm talking to somebody, it changes a lot.
Now this brings up a good question. So at the gym, do you talk to people? Do you walk up to just anybody and just say hi? Or
Well, if I have something to say, I'll say it. But it's more people come. It became a problem, especially at like a Gold's Gym, where people would come up to me and start talking to me and disrupt my workout. I would be walking backwards away from them, and they would still be talking.
And they still talk, yeah.
So
get a clue. Personal space. I'm busy working out.
You cannot effectively train taking 5 minutes between sets.
Yeah.
So there's no intensity there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Shawn introduces himself to anybody at the gym, whereas other people, people introduce themselves to you as well. So you kind of have an openness to seeing people. There's a fraternalness to.
I've almost met all
this
my
concept,
friends at the gym that I've ever had as an adult.
Well, the gym is such a place of people are just single-minded, one purpose. I mean, you can leave the politics aside, you can leave your beliefs in religion and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just it's not a single ideology that you have, but everybody's there mostly to work out. And and it's wonderful to have that kind of commonality with somebody who you have absolutely nothing else in common with.
But what's so cool is that that's what I've noticed is people will. There's an appreciation for the work you've done on your body, and people will walk up and say, "You look great," or whatever. It's not. There's not like. There's like a complimentary thing to it. It's like.
Well, and there's a familiarity.
Because they've been through it as well.
It's been a great conversation starter.
It is, and you can tell right away if people want to talk, they want to talk. If they don't want to talk, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But everybody loves a compliment. When they go, you look great. You've done a great job.
Right.
Good for you. And you say thank you and you move on or whatever.
I would have no other reason as an adult for strange men, always never women. I assure you.
Yeah.
Come up to me in public, especially when I was bigger in bodybuilding, and being like, how much do you bench, bro, or arm wrestle? They're not doing that because I'm small, okay? And I'm sure you get it a lot. And it is a conversation starter because otherwise, I assure you, I would not be talking to this person, because I probably will find them obnoxious. And so, but it really is a good it bridges gaps. It can really help you get in contact with people that you know. Everything I have in my life is because of training, almost. I really feel that way, and
it's a wonderful source of self-confidence and purpose and just overall mental health, not just physical health. I think you need to achieve a certain level of endorphins and physical activity just to improve cerebral blood flow. I mean, you just got to you got to do that, and if you don't, you're just always.
Shawn will come home from the gym and he'd be like, "Oh, I met this guy today, and him and his wife, they live over in Crestview or someplace in town. Seemed really nice, and and like he was saying, there's not a whole lot there's no politics or anything to it.
No.
It's just like there's an appreciation for what they're doing and working out, and they've done a great job working on their body and concentrating on the importance of physical fitness and pride. I think pride is probably one of the biggest things. And I'm not sure everybody they don't get that out of everybody in their lives. You only get that from other people at the gym who can appreciate what they see in other people. You know, I never noticed muscle people until I was married to one, or started dating somebody who was a muscle guy, because I didn't understand how to appreciate it.
Right.
That this was a lot of work that
works
people
out
did.
from a mile away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can
Oh, yeah.
They're just their proportions.
My favorite is when we go through like the airport. He'll walk in front of me, and just to see people go. Kind of do a double take when they see him and his big muscles. And it doesn't matter if it's men, women, kids, whatever. They notice a big, giant
You would
guy.
be a lie to say that it's not something I like. I do like that.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I have put in the work for it, I believe, to cheat. And, you know, you can have it. You can have it, too, if you do the work. I really believe almost anybody can do it. Now, genetics are going to hurt a lot of people, but unless you're trying to get really crazy, I believe almost anyone can reach a pretty high, impressive point if everything is correct. You know, and you know, that's just not their goal in life, and I understand that. And you know, they're probably not going to be my good friends.
Well, I think everybody's got their idea about what goal is, what goal they want to get. When I was really hitting the gym hard. For me, I had a lot of pride in being able to look in the mirror and go, I'm happy with what I see. But I've always been happy with what I see. It was just a different version of me, you know.
Right.
You know, and as we all know, it's not really about what you think of yourself. Although you do want to be happy about yourself.
Right.
But you know, at my time, I was single and looking for a partner, so a lot of it had to do with what other people thought, which you do when you're single, and you want other people to see you in physical manifestations. What people do, they see the physicalness of it.
It kind of drove me a little bit.
I want to talk. Of course, I want to talk to that guy because
I wanted to look like what I was attracted to.
Yeah.
Or like, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think, you know, if I was a woman, Marius Puginas, that's a peak man right there.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I love is, you know, we might be homos, but even the straight guys at the gym appreciate a beautiful man just like anybody else. And they will be more than happy to walk up and shake your hand and say, you look great. You know, and Shawn has that, there's almost, he's like a very good liaison in that way. He doesn't come out right away. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not important. Right. He's there to work out. And sometimes, you know, they'll find out later. I'm sure there's plenty of people at the gym that Shawn has talked to many times who that don't know and don't care. It's not important. It's not part of...
A lot of people don't know Mike is gay.
Yeah.
They have no idea Mike is gay. And it's the thing...
But it's not their business anyway. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We'll find out
when they do find out.
Yeah.
When they do find out, because, you know, they see, like, maybe his post with, you know, a post he does with Gary or something. The thing they always
in one of Gary's many wigs.
Right.
Yeah, so, I know, which is a big problem.
They say, I never would have guessed, but I guess it was the car should have told me.
Well, so one of the guys...
One other people, too.
Other people said that specifically?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I've only ever heard that from Brandon.
Well, I need to hear the car incident.
Yeah.
Which I think is silly, to be honest with you. I agree.
It's a practical car.
It really is.
And it's
fun.
a good
car.
It's a go-kart. It's great. It's so agile. No, but going back to the point about, like, guys sort of, like, approaching you or guys respecting, like, this inherent respect, I think it really does speak to, like this sort of male camaraderie, and I guess it's like sizing other men up and like how they form their identities, and I think it's very different between men and women, and I think like we've all seen that in our own experience, and we've all provided evidence right now of how that is, and I think one of the more vivid examples is like as an adult, you know, at 5 years old when I was in the Peace Corps or whatever, I was as small as like when I got sick, I got dengue fever, and that was the sickest I got and the skinniest I got because I lost a bunch of weight and I wasn't eating a lot of food anyways. And I don't remember how skinny I got, but it was under 130 pounds. I was down to probably like somewhere between 125 and 130. And now eventually, fast forward to the biggest I got to 305. And
how much are you now, just for reference?
Somewhere between like 290, 295.
Yeah, I figure you guys about the same. Yeah.
I was 285 when I stepped on the scale this morning.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, but
How much of that was ego? Sorry.
So no, it's fine. And so when I first started doing it, and like around the time I met you in 2012, I'd gone to Maryland for grad school, and I sort of like developed myself in many ways, including figuring out my sexuality and all that. And I had like worked out a lot, and so I bulked up from, I think when I started at Maryland I was like 150, and I got up to about like 215 pounds. And my mom was very opposed to it. She was just like, I think it was the first time that I wasn't who she envisioned that I was. Right. And my sister, like my mom and my sister, every time I saw them and I was bigger and I looked different, they had a ton of questions and they were very skeptical and whatever. But like anytime I asked my brother or my dad, they were like, they totally got it. Like there wasn't even questioning it.
Yeah.
Right? They were like, yeah, I get it. Like you want to do that. That's who you feel more comfortable as. Like that's how you want to be. And I get that. But you ask a woman, they'd be like, yeah, but why? Like, why do you feel like you have to be that way? And so I think that men have this sort of inherent appreciation for the carnal appeal of size, and equating it or inflating it or whatever with masculinity or whatever, however you want to put that, right? Yeah. Like they get it. Like it's unspoken, it's genetic pre-programming, whatever you want to call it. It's, some sort of subconscious brainstem fucking thing. I don't know. But like that's... It's
almost like a dick size thing. It almost is.
It really is, right.
It's like, it really doesn't matter, but for some reason, guys think it does.
Right, and so
it doesn't matter as much to me anymore.
Exactly. Well, it's just, but it's just like, people are always, they want to kind of act like there's sort of this alpha male sort of bullshit that people do at the gym. They do. It happens, but
they
I think
don't do
anybody
that with him, I bet, and they don't do that with me. And
but they do. I mean, if people are thinking it, I mean, they do.
That's
look.
The thing. I think to a degree, everybody does.
Yeah, they do. That's what I'm saying.
Project.
They do.
Right.
It's all a projection thing. It's all a projection thing.
Gotcha.
But it's if you got to be comfortable in your own skin. But sometimes people are like, I don't like what I look like. I'm gonna find some other way to project confidence, and sometimes that could just be a physical manifestation of that confidence, as opposed to a personality or some other way that they decide, they have an alpha status somewhere amongst their peer groups, because it really ends up being your peer groups. That's what you're trying to impress. And
and I think the physical projection of that is so much.
What's that?
It's 2:00.
Yeah, but it's only 11 p.m. West Coast time.
That's what our fans are.
I'm feeling Central Time here.
I know. We'll get you home to bed soon. We'll see if there's any more questions.
Yeah.
What was your family life like growing up? Did you have a mom and a traditional dad?
Yeah. Let's shrink.
We got to switch.
No, we're good.
Train?
No. Oops. I'm just gonna pop inside for a second.
New heels.
So I was the oldest of three, and my parents had me when they were very young. I think my mom was 19 and my dad was 20. So they didn't know a whole lot. They did the best they could, and we didn't have a whole lot. My dad was at the time working working on telephone poles, changing those glass insulators that they had back then. And my mom was just a stay-at-home mom raising the kids. So when my sister came along 4 years later, and at least the earliest remembrance I have is that my dad wasn't there a whole lot. My mom was there, and so I really felt like a very competitive edge, probably early on, just wanting to get out of the financial predicaments that we were in. I was always aware of we were kind of on the verge of financial peril all the time, and so just really kind of applied myself through academics and just loved to learn. I just loved freaking to learn, and so that was a good escape for me from the anxieties of home, and just kind of kept applying myself. Then I started working out when I was first, second year of college, and it just really felt great. It was just something I'd never really been physical. I ran track and played a little football in high school, but not, nothing very serious. I was always applying myself academically, and then just really found that weightlifting, particularly just lifting iron, was a great escape for me mentally, because the whole world of academics can be very grueling at times, can be very it's draining in a different way. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And being the kind of perfectionist I am and rather obsessed with myself, I always push myself to just do all-nighters and just learn and just try to excel academically. And so that was a just great way to try to find some balance, because I think that's what it's all about, is really trying to find a balance between your personal life, your health, both physical and mental, your work, your family, your relationships. It's just a constant, and it doesn't get any easier as you get older, because you get more. You feel like a lot of times you feel like you got more plates spinning, so there's more pieces moving at the same time. So it's a constant struggle to try to get to that place of balance. But I think that weightlifting for me has been a constant throughout that. At times can be a source of stress if you're really trying to hit certain goals and you keep missing, or if you're not sleeping enough or not eating not getting your macros so that you can actually recover. It's a lot of balancing that you're trying to do.
That desire to want to get to sleep or eat the macros, it makes you develop certain structure.
Yeah.
I had zero structure in my life as a kid.
Yeah.
My grandma let me do whatever I wanted. I could eat ice cream for breakfast. I didn't have to go to school. I could do whatever I wanted. And I only liked history. I always wanted to be a history teacher. That's what I went to college for. And then I found the iron. But
but your aptitude for
I love learning
history.
too. I love learning
history about the whole weightlifting and powerlifting and stuff.
It was history of real history.
Yeah. But it's.
I love the history of everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I would as far as learning would go, I would stay up all night reading. When I got to high school I got to advanced history classes, I really did great. And all the other classes I did pretty poorly, because I just wouldn't go to school, or they were just, I wouldn't do it. Because I'm never going to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? It just, I couldn't, and it was a bad attitude to have, but, in short, the gym helped me learn discipline and structure.
That's true.
And how to apply it to other things.
But in a way, it's like, our occupations, the horizon with which we see, our efforts finally get rewarded can take decades. But with academics, sometimes certainly with weightlifting, and I bet, on powerlifting, I'm doing a lot of powerlifting, but you can see, okay, I apply this effort and this structure, I get this result, I get this reward. And so there's some predictability to that, where everything is not quite so predictable. Relationships are not quite so predictable. Finances are not. There's a lot of unpredictability inherent in our lives, and that's one way we can see clear benefit from point from effort to reward.
I always felt like that.
Yeah.
And then when I got hurt and my predictability meter got fucked up, and I have OCD, I was miserable. Because I found pleasure in nothing but sex. Actually, I became like a sex addict at the age of 19.
Wow.
Because the gym was not, I was not getting pleasure from it anymore, and I wasn't in other aspects of my life. And I like to have things pretty structured. But when you get to a certain point and a certain level, all the factors you have to put into your training can change daily. your sleep, your food, how you feel, if you have an injury, how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You got to be able to make the calls that day, especially when you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
You can train pretty basic for a while
Right.
before you get to the point where you have to change up the variables.
Yeah.
So I use the conjugate system.
So there's food coming.
Oh.
Where? From
Okay.
where?
You'll find out in a little bit.
I'm starving.
Yeah, there's food
Is there
coming.
enough for me?
Yeah, that's why we can't leave.
No, you have to eat cheesecake.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of cheesecake in there.
Where are y'all staying?
Mike said he'll give us a ride home in a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
After the food? Okay. All right. Okay, I'll stay. If you insist.
Well, now we can talk about training since everybody left.
Talk about who?
Training.
Training.
Oh,
that's
since
cool.
everybody left, right?
Well, who's training? Yeah, that's it's been quite a ride.
I've been feeling great lately.
Wait,
You look awesome. You just look. I mean,
This is the first time I felt like myself in years.
That's good.
The
That's a good
acne,
feeling.
the acne really was the kind of made it much worse.
Did you?
What's that?
Did they do?
Oh, that's the
did
dermal.
they do
That's the
acne-
food.
did they
I'm
do
on
acne
isotretinoin right now.
Okay.
I got cystic acne all over my scalp and my, my sebaceous glands went haywire, and they started making too much sebum, and that gave it to me. And was it caused by steroids? It probably had a big to do with it, but I don't know many people that have dealt with it like I did. So I just got unlucky. It's really what it is, and the only thing that can treat it is isotretinoin Accutane, and I'm on it now. And until
Is that like a cream or?
it's a drug that stops your body from making you basically oiled, sebaceous sebum. And because your body makes too much and it clogs up your pores, and you have a lot of pores on your head, so that's where. And then when you get a head infection, like you have canals on your scalp that I didn't even know about.
It's Taco Bell.
Oh, it's Taco Bell.
It's gonna be yummy.
So, but I mean, what's
I got
what's
staph
that?
multiple times on my head, and the problem is you have these canals on your scalp, and the staph spreads very quickly. That's why I have such bad scarring and stuff on the back of my head. It'll get better. My hair will grow back, luckily. This happened before where I had the bald spots in my beard, but then when I was on the Accutane, everything got back to normal. My hair grew back. I stopped taking it, and then it comes back. So you have to take it for like at least 6 months. And I really have tolerated it pretty well. I'm on a pretty low dose, so I don't have any side effects.
there's a pretty high rate of depression that you take Accutane too. So
luckily, I'm on Prozac.
There you go.
And I'm on edibles.
He knows his
I take
drugs.
edibles frequently. Edibles really changed my life. I mean, when I discovered them about 3 years ago, I was in the worst shape I'd ever been in my life. I couldn't even leave my room for a weekend because I was just like I was so financial insecurity really triggers me bad.
Oh yeah.
And
I get that.
To feel like a prisoner in your own life, because money is everything. Like if you don't have money, you can't do things. And I've been on my own since I was pretty young. Yeah. And so it really took the edge off.
You say you're 27?
I'll be 27 in a month.
Good job.
So
good job. You know a lot for a 27 for an average 27-year-old. I know some that don't know how to work a rotary dial phone, and so you gotta. got an edge.
I should be able to do that. 50% chance rate.
That's cool.
I've looked into a lot of mental health has always interested me in a way because I believe that the trait that makes me more susceptible to OCD is similar to the trait that makes someone be more susceptible to bipolar or addiction or whatever. And a lot of people in my family have had issues, clear mental illnesses.
Yeah.
And
runs
I believe it runs in and it's only certain lines too. Like my great grandma, she had polio in the 30s.
Yeah.
She apparently had it. My grandfather was very eccentric. He clearly had something going on.
Yeah.
My mom, definitely. I have an uncle that died of alcoholism at 49. You know, my mom was a drug addict. My sister was a drug addict. Luckily, me and my brother turned out pretty good because we saw all it. You know, my father was an addict. You know, my dad was in prison when I was born. So I've seen a lot of what not to do.
Yeah. Well, plus it's all about kind of turning your strengths into, I mean, your liabilities into strengths.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just, you know. So for example, if you're, you know, your shoulder injury, or if you've got, you know, your self-image is, you know, you see a skinny person in the mirror, then you know, training can really help. But it's easy to take it too far. But that's, you know, I think it's important to you know, if you have some type of mental issue, the challenge is not just to overcome it; it's to help other people overcome it too. And that's, to me, that's where the money is. I'm not, you know, the money itself.
Right.
That's where the reward is.
You know, after I got diagnosed, I knew a guy at the gym, and was pretty open with him. I'm pretty open about my personal life, and I told him what was going on because he knew I was going through acting weird, and he told me he had OCD, and he had it since he was a little kid. Diagnosed, had a lot of therapy, been on a lot of medicines, had figured out through, you know, therapy and different practices how to get off medicine completely. And I never would have known he had it, and he said he never would have known I have it.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to talk to him.
Well, it's well contained, and you know, now I've seen some people who have it it's so severe. I remember this one when I did my training up in New York City, and sometimes you see the sickest of the sick, but she had this compulsion that she would have to hit herself in the head, and she had like detached her retina some ungodly number of times, so she actually had to walk around. I mean, and she didn't mind doing this because she was kind of an uncontrolled compulsion. She had to walk around with a lacrosse helmet, so she would wear that, so she wouldn't thwack herself in the head and cause more retinal scarring.
Was it treatable? Do you remember? Do you think
it was pretty intractable. I mean, she was just treatment non-responsive to a lot. I mean, tried so many things, and it just, I was just peripherally involved in her care, but it was difficult to watch.
Wow.
So you can have, so it's a spectrum of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just like autism, you know, you have so you have the people who are a little obsessive and, you know, don't like to see the cabinet doors open, and you have people who, you know, who can't leave their home because they're afraid they're gonna have, you know, get some kind of infection or you know, just have extreme phobias about stuff. So, yeah,
I've done a lot of reading into it since I.
Have you ever thought about going in the mental health field? Because I mean, you got a lot of insight.
I do a lot of it with coaching.
Yeah, well, and you're obviously your people skills are pretty decent because you're interacting with people one-to-one. It's not a big jump to go from. Just got to have the.
Well, even if it were a lot of people, I don't think I would have much problem. It would be if I, you know. Now it's changed. I really have. It used to be my weakness. I used to get public anxiety really bad.
Yeah.
But now I've turned it into where, you know, I just make it comfortable for myself, and you know, because it's the fact that other people are uncomfortable is what bothers me, and I know that that's being made up in my head because they're not.
Yeah.
I know they're
but
not.
You read. I mean, it seems like you read people, and that's the other part of it is being able to read people, you know, because, you know, 80% of communication is nonverbal. You really just kind of learn to read people. That's not really what they say, it's how they say it, and how their posture and their movement, and it's you know, it's pretty easy to read people that way if you just kind of defocus on just the words.
Yeah. I don't know how I got it. I know how I got it, but
you pay attention.
I just put it together to probably protect myself through the years.
That's it. It's about survival. But again, those survival skills can help other people.
And I love teaching.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like learning, but I love teaching. I always wanted to be a history professor, and then when I realized I wanted to be in college for a long time, I got the job in the supplement industry, and now I already started coaching people, and it's really what I love to do. I've done it since I was probably 16. As soon as I had a friend to instruct, the correct ways that I read about based off of and I've learned so much over the years. But the way I am has been the same. I want to always pass on the knowledge that I get. And there are other people like that too that I didn't realize. Especially on the internet these days, all the information's out there.
Yeah,
it really
there's
is.
a lot of crap.
Where you
too.
tacos?
All right, I'm coming.
I'm luckily at this point pretty good at seeing the crap when it comes to especially training related things.
You're in charge of this. You're going to need to shut this down, other Shawn.
I can do it.
Shut it down. All right.
There's a burrito here for you, Shawn.
Burrito.